Welcome into the exchange with Nick Mangold and my good friend here, Mark Sanchez. We have an unbelievable show for you today. Before we get kicked off, Mark, how you doing, buddy?
Buddy, you know, I'm going to steal a line from my dad. If I were any better, it'd be against the law. How about that? I used to hate when he said it. I used to hate it. And now I use it all the time. So, just the way it goes.
See, perfect. I feel like there's another saying that there's, I mean, my wife always uses, and I got her this for Christmas this year. I was walking through Hallmark and it spoke to me. She tells our kids before walking out the door every morning, it's a good day to have a good day.
I love it.
So I got it was a sign, like it was already pre-printed up. I didn't do anything. Like it was just sitting on the shelf. And I was like, I have to buy that because that's the exact quote that my wife says every day. But I feel like that's going to become what my kids, you know, like you say, you know, you hated it every time. I feel like they're mad. They're going to school. They're walking off. Like this morning, it was ice cold. So they were like, it's not a good day to have a good day because it's freezing. So.
That's great.
I get it. I understand it. So we have for our guest today, and
who do we got?
You because you don't know. We got Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid coming in. The Cobra Kai is out on Netflix, season 4. So he was gracious enough to come in and give us a little spiel. So with that in mind, I got a question for you. All right. What is your signature move? And you can't say the crane kick.
Wow, I was just going to say the crane.
Sorry. Nothing you can do about it.
I have so many questions for him. They went to golf and stuff right off the 605, dude. That's where I grew up. I lived right by Norwalk. We're in Whittier.
Is that
Whittier, Holmes? Whittier, Vato?
Is it highway?
Holmes? The 605 is
area
a highway.
code?
Yeah, we say the out here. In California, you say the 405, the 5. Back there, it's just 78, 287. You know, it's weird.
We throw I in front of it. I-75, I-70, you know, interstate.
Yeah.
Anyway,
signature move. I'm trying to think. I mean, in college when we'd score, I'd kind of like do one of these. I don't know where that came from. The windmill action. You know, honestly, one of my favorite moves was the jet plane. You know, flying. That was pretty cool.
That's a good one too.
With some, you know, after a big throw, big touchdown, big run, whatever. That was nice to kind of glide off the field that way because you just feel like you're a jet, I guess. I don't know, man. Those were fun times. What about you?
I mean, well, hold on. I got all the questions for you again. I mean, when you scored a touchdown, did you have something, or was it only or were there different things between scoring a touchdown or throwing a touchdown? Like, did you separate? Like,
I didn't plan it.
And throwing.
I didn't plan it far enough in advance. I didn't have a set thing. The only thing I did have against the Raiders on the road, the same hot dog game, I did dunk it on the goalpost, full gear. Like I always wanted to do that. I used to see Tony Gonzalez do that all the time, and he grew up here. And going into my rookie year, I played basketball, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I played pickup basketball with Tony Gonzalez. And nice. I mean, this dude was a freak. And I'm like, oh, let's go throw. And he's like, yeah, I don't really catch balls till like August, right before training camp. I was like, what? So I was like, okay, whatever. I mean, he's a freaking Hall of Famer, so it doesn't really matter. But different strokes, I guess. But when I saw him dunk and play pickup basketball and stuff, and then, you know, I watched them all rookie year. They beat us. Remember, they beat us rookie year, and we thought we weren't going to the playoffs. Rex said we're out, and then we wake up the next morning and we're potentially in. We got to beat Indy on the road or something. So yeah, I thought being able to dunk with all your gear on was like really cool. So doing that, and then it was either the Daily News or the Post had a big thing. I had Vito and Gus, the equipment guys. They blew it up for me. I still have it at the house here somewhere.
Nice.
But you know, probably like in the entryway, right when you walk in, so people can see it.
Yeah, I mean it's like, you know, the Super Bowl winning team and then Mark dunking a ball. Everyone forgets that because of the hot dog. Signature move. So I have this one. It just came to me because I was really racking my brain. Because linemen, we don't get any fun. Like we're in a dark room and everything gets run down into us. Like we're mushrooms. Signature move. Coming off the field, putting my helmet onto the bench, right?
Okay.
And then reaching over, grabbing my hat, doing the pullback.
Boom. Ooh, nice.
And then the little pop of the ears. And that's the signature move. Throwing the cap on after a series, no matter what happened, you know?
That's true. That's actually a really good point. You did always have a backwards cap on. I mean, you'd even go to Del Frisco's with a backwards cap on, and they wouldn't let anybody else do that except you. So you're a backwards hat guy, dude.
They're still really nice, too. You need to come back.
You're a backwards hat guy. That's your move.
That's my move. Signature move. At some point, it's going to be like, one of my kids is going to be like, Dad, that doesn't look right. Like, you need to stop.
But you're like in a tuxedo with a backwards hat.
I actually did do that one time. Went to a friend's 40th birthday party.
You're the worst.
And I asked his wife what the attire was. And she said, a little bit dressy. So I said, all right, I'll figure out what a little bit dressy is. So I pulled out my tuxedo from the wedding, full tux, and I wore a hat. And so I showed up, and she's laughing, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, you said the attire's a little bit dressy, a little bit dressy."
I say you knew exactly what the assignment was and check the box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bing,
that's good.
All right, so we've been yakking too much. We need to get to Ralph. I'm really looking forward to it. Let's go to that now. Interview with Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, Cobra Kai, season 4 on Netflix right now. Let's check this out.
Thank you again for joining us. We got a very special guest. It's Ralph Macchio, who you know from Karate Kid, from Cobra Kai, and Ugly Betty, and a million other things on his resume. But most importantly, he's a Jet fan, and he took time to be with us. So thank you so much, Ralph. How you doing, man?
Great to be here. Thanks, guys.
I'm glad they sent you a sweatshirt. I'm still waiting for mine. It's good to see you have one.
This is one of my favorites.
I want to get into all the Jet stuff, but I had to know just because, this one really hits home. I grew up in Whittier, which is right next to Norwalk, where golf and stuff is. And for those Karate Kid fans, when you get the nice yellow ride from Mr. Miyagi and you're driving into golf and stuff, the outdoor mini putt, whatever, mini golf place, what are your memories from there? Because I have a ton of childhood memories there. That was right up the street, dude. So whenever I saw it in the movie, I was all fired up.
That's great. Yeah, the golf and stuff. I think it's still there. I think it's one of those, go visit the locations of the Karate Kid, and it's on the tour, if you will. That was a couple of nights. Elizabeth Shue and 47 Ford convertible. Pretty easy day at the office, I would have to say. And it was it's a great time. It's so fun to see those scenes, play back in the Cobra Kai series. They actually, take the younger cast, they bring them back there. They brought William Zabka and Elizabeth Shue in season 3 of Cobra Kai to the golf and stuff. And those were long nights, though. And I remember there was a scene where Avildsen, our director, I take her to the car, Elizabeth Shue to the car, and we start it up and start driving off. And he says, I allow her to drive, or I say, why don't you drive? And Avildsen said to me, he said, yeah, why don't you just say, hey, it's the 80s, meaning like the girls should be able, the ladies should drive. And I didn't think of it then, but the concept of it's the 80s, I never knew would be such a big sentence in my life, because when people meet me, they're often talking about somewhere in the 80s. So it's kind of full circle. But yeah, if
That's
I knew
really
you were
cool.
down the street, Mark, well, you were probably maybe not born yet, or just what year were you born? Just so I know, and I can feel really old.
I was born in 86, but I remember my brothers
so
had me watch that movie when I was a little guy.
That's awesome.
I love it. Explain to us how in the world did you become a Jets fan? I know you're a New York native, but why Jets? Why not Giants? Why not any other teams? What was it about the Jets and Gang Green that caught your attention?
Well, listen, I was about 8 years old in '69. So, that was the team. It was Joe Namath, Emerson Boozer, if memory serves. And I remember I think it was Christmas or my birthday, I got the Jet uniform in the box with the big super shoulder pads. I was, you imagine my pinhead now, you could almost think of what it was at 8, 9 years old. And I wore this thing around the house. And then I also had one of my second cousins was on the, was on the squad preseason for a little while. Oh, wow. And he gave me a football and he said, I had a catch with Joe Namath with this football. And that was the football that my mom says, you keep that in your room. Like, you do not go outside with that. That's not the one to play in the street with your friends, So this was probably 70, whatever, 1 or 2. I was like 10 or whatever. So that's where it started. And, awesome. They're Super Bowl champs at that point. And then that's at the point where a guy could say, I guarantee you we're going to win. And they did. So, and then since then it's been a bit tougher for decades, but that's how I was bit.
Yeah, but I mean, at least you got the one, so that's got to be something exciting.
Yeah.
My son's still waiting on one. He's 10 now, so
right.
I'm hoping they figure it out so he can get a Super Bowl. So I assume, I still have to ask, but I assume that I know what this answer is going to be. What is your all-time favorite Jets moment? And if it is the Super Bowl, give me the number 2 as well.
Okay. Well, the Super Bowl, I was super young, so I remember it, but not some of. I would say the game I was at with my son and my brother and his son at the time. You guys were on the field. It was, I believe, against Houston. It was a big comeback game. I was in the first row. And I think, Mark, you tell me, I think it was down the right side to Braylon Edwards and then down the other side to Santonio Holmes. And I was first. And so I was there with my son, my brother, and his son. And it was one of those defining generational moment comeback experiences. So it's personal because it wasn't just the game, but it was them, being as excited as I was when I was a kid. And then another one on top of that was maybe from that same year or the following year. See, the memory used to be so good, but after we got our butts kicked by New England on Monday Night Football, 40-3 or whatever that was, and that playoff game, the can't wait, the Bart Scott, that was good. Sean Green was big in that game, right? Was that Sean?
Huge, yeah. Sean Green put him to bed.
Yeah. That was I just love, and the whole Bart Scott. I use that meme all the time. I mean, when people say Cobra Kai is coming out, I always send that. Can't wait. It's just, so awesome. Those are a couple memories for you.
Those are fun, man. Those are really fun. We went on a little run there, Nikki. That Houston game, Detroit, Cleveland. I mean, it was like 3 or 4 games in a row where it was the last possession, overtime, fourth quarter. So that's really cool that you remember that. And right before that Houston one, I threw an interception backed up in our own territory. Defense bailed us out and gave us another opportunity. But before we got the ball back, the stadium emptied, dude. It was a friends and family affair for the rest of that game.
Yeah, well, that happens. That happens.
Oh, that's great. Okay, you guys are going into season 4 of Cobra Kai, or you're filming season 4. And was it weird trying to get back into that? I know it's set like 30 years later, but was it weird getting back into that world of the Karate Kid? Did you have to go back and watch the movies, or just pick up where you left off like a good best friend, like you never left?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at it that, the 3 creators of the show are super, super Karate Kid fans, and they write the show that they believe the fans want to see. And they've woven in this next generation cast, and these kids we have are just wonderful, spectacular actors and athletes. And for Billy Zabka and myself, it was less about, wow, how do I play this guy? And more about, okay, so this much life has taken place for me, Ralph, and let's see, that much life has taken place for Daniel LaRusso. So I sort of approached it in the same way I did back in the day, this sort of, I just amped up the sort of temper and the sort of knee-jerkness of Daniel LaRusso, which made him a great protagonist because he he did not take no for an answer and kept going back, and that made it entertaining. Where Ralph probably would have, after the first beatdown, I probably would have figured out another way to not have it getting beat down again. That makes for less of a good movie. But in an interesting way, it was just sort of like using, I have, the character had 2 kids and was married a while. I have 2 kids, been married a while. So there were parallels that I didn't, I just sort of approached it in a fresh approach of the life that I've lived since that time. And then the writing is the writing, so you have to follow what's on the page. But it wasn't like, reinventing the wheel or learning how to ride the bike again. It really, you just picked it up. But these guys also wrote to that. They knew what the stories that they wanted to see. And here we are, season 4, just a great embrace, exploded on Netflix. We've been #1 since New Year's Eve, waiting for it's just really quite spectacular to be that gift that keeps on giving. It's really nice, and it's been a blast.
That's cool. That's really cool.
That is awesome. And with season 4 of Cobra Kai, out on Netflix now, fully entrenched, and you think about all that time you spent doing the 4 seasons and, kind of getting back into that role and living that life. Did you feel like when, and this is kind of more of a personal question, do you feel like when you started back in, like you had to do a history lesson for the younger actors of like, here's what Karate Kid was and all the different things and kind of give that history lesson? Or did they already know and kind of came in eyes wide open to what they were getting into?
Some knew. That's a good question, man. Some knew and some didn't. A couple of them came to the audition and say, "What's the name of this movie? What was it?" And then others were like, "Are you kidding me? My mom and dad made me watch this 1,000 times." And so some of them, and even the fans of the show now, kind of back themselves into the franchise. It'll turn out to be a really cool show that they enjoy, and then their parents are sitting them down and they're watching the movies together. And I think that's why it's resonating on so many different generations and different ages and, and different types of people around the world, because it has that nostalgic element and yet it has a relevant current story. So it's, but they do, yes, I do feel like, the older, wiser human Yoda, the Mr. Miyagi for these kids, and so does Billy. All of us OG Karate Kid cast members, sort of carry that torch with a great deal of pride, though. For sure.
Did anybody come onto the Cobra Kai set and be like, "Wait, I thought the Karate Kid was Jaden Smith"? And
that's
that
right.
Really would see that would really piss me off if I were you, but I don't know.
A couple knew of the Jaden Smith Jackie Chan remake, but for the most part, because that's sort of out of what we call the Miyagi verse, because anyone with Miyagi could be in the Cobra Kai series, where that was a separate world.
Sure.
Same, but that doesn't come up too often. But interestingly enough, we have Will Smith and his company that was Overbrook and some of his executives that are executive producers on the show, because when they did the remake, they assumed some of the rights from the original production company. So, but it's everybody's smiling right now. That's the cool part.
Okay, good.
Awesome. And
that's awesome.
I'm not sure if it's been announced, but if there is a season 5, do you think there's a potential, little cameo, Mark and I slipping in there somewhere?
Well, probably. Here's what I say.
Mark is hotter,
dude. I'll take a kick to the throat anytime.
Right. Well, I might have to. If it's coming from me, I might have to have you sit down, because it's a little tougher to get it up that high these days. But I'll say this much, guys: we have finished shooting season 5. We just finished it. It's going to be a while before blessed with a 6th season that I'll have to negotiate with some of my writers that are, a couple of them are big Browns fan, the other's a big but we've watched some games together down on location.
Okay, good. I got a question and a little bit of a bone to pick with you, because I got to stick up for my co-host here. But in 2014, you did an interview and you said your favorite player at the time was Nick Folk, who was the kicker. So I'm assuming you just screwed up the last name and you meant to say Mangold, but you said Folk.
Okay, so 2014, I did. I must have been at a game. 2014. It must have been. What's our guy on the field? It always has the microphone. What's his name?
That was Eric Allen, right?
Yeah, Eric Allen.
Yeah,
Probably Eric.
yeah.
I think so. But 2014, did I do? Okay, so here, why I would say Nick Folk doesn't make sense to me. I guess. See, I remember Nick Folk. There was one season, and you guys would know better than me, where he was money, and one season where he couldn't find the side of a barn, right? I mean, it was really went from, it was unbelievable. He was like death and taxes. It was a guarantee. And then all of a sudden it's like, it's over here. It's over. I mean, it's easy to say the kicker's mentality, but so maybe it must've been during that run when he was just money. I just can't imagine me saying that. See, Mangold, well, I will say about Mangold, as I tap dance myself out of this one,
Smart.
is that Mangold, like that's when you take something for granted, that the Jets had a guy at center like that. And then on those rare occasions where you would miss a game, which would be very rare because you were indispensable, like could not bring this guy down. Then all of a sudden the panic sets in. I'm sure for the quarterback, even more for me in the seats.
Yeah, who are you talking to?
Pro Bowl A-lister #1 in front of you. And that's the one piece of the Jets we always had, is when Mangold was on the field. Like, we don't have to worry about that. We have to fix all these pieces, but we don't have to worry about that. So I'll spend the rest of my life having to redeem myself in the wrong Nick response.
I love it.
Now, listen, there are no issues here. I was a big fan of Nick Folk then too. The Folk hero was a real thing. I mean, that was,
I think so.
That was like that was our best offensive weapon, which is never good. Don't like that. But it's in the past. Do you feel like you have any parallels of like the theme of Karate Kid and the New York Jets, like the underdog, that type thing? Do you feel like that brought in a little bit? Do you feel that at all? Or am I just making it up and blowing smoke out of my ears?
No, it's actually a good parallel. I could go one direction saying, yes, I played the guy who got his ass kicked all the time. So that would not be the parallel we want to say, right? But then the other side is he was taught, defense only, right? So, and the defense wins championship theories. The Jets have always been a team, by and large, that had, a strong defense. It's about scoring the points for a while and finding that quarterback, which is such a, the quarterback. When I was a kid, the quarterback was everything, but not the game has changed, right? You guys know way more than I do, but it's the ground and pound, or pound and ground. I always say it wrong. I love that style of football. And so, but look how I'm dancing around this question. But I think the defense theory and the Miyagiism of get that strong first and then add, then you could strike first, strike hard, and show no mercy. I guess that would be that's more of a Cobra Kai thing. And it probably, it would be nice to not play from behind. So maybe striking first is not a bad thing. The defense is absolutely exhausted in the second half, and so I guess it's good to get some points up front. I don't know if
I like it.
No, it was perfect. I was a big fan of the ground and pound as well. Took the ball out of Mark's hands. So
there's a setup.
Stupid.
Just set up.
Where's Rex? Stupid.
Foot massage or whatever.
There you go.
Probably true.
What about you have to have one of these? Well, we got one question, and then we'll do some rapid fire questions where you just give a quick, Mets, Yankees, that kind of thing. But in public, you got to get recognized all the time. Like, how many times do people call you Danny LaRusso, or like say sweep the leg, or wax on, wax off? But what's like the weirdest interaction, either body part you've signed or some weird memorabilia, like, hey, this was the outfit you wore as a teenager in the movie, or anything crazy like that's happened to you?
Right. There's been more than a handful. Yeah, I get a lot of line call outs, and I was in certainly Karate Kid ones. I get a lot of outsiders because Stay Gold, Pony Boy, Do It for Johnny. My cousin Vinny, I get a lot of I Shot the Clerk.
Oh yeah.
The Two Utes. So for some reason, a couple of these movies kind of stick and stand the test of time and follow me around. I think one of the weirdest things I ever signed is, there's a line from the original Karate Kid where he says, "Get him a body bag." And someone actually brought an actual body bag and asked me. I said, "I've never signed a body bag." A weird fan. At one time, one of my kids was, not feeling well and maybe sick when he was little, and someone was like asking for an autograph as I'm attending to my child. Silly things people say. I mean, there's so many of them. God, I don't. Oh, this was a fun one. When I was making one of the Karate Kid movies, little kid comes up to me. It must have been the second one or the third one, and he says, he must have been about 6, and he was like, "Are you the guy from the Karate Kid?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Are you the one who does that kick, that crane kick thing?" I said, "Yeah." And I said, I'm grabbing a pen, and the kid just leans into me. He's like 6 years old. He goes, "I kick your ass," and he just walked through. I was standing there with a pen in my hand, like, and so I don't know. That's a couple that come to mind.
Those are good. Was there an actual body in the bag, or the bag was empty?
No, there was not. No, they didn't come from the coroner's office or whatever.
Okay, good.
That we're lucky because we were worried about that. All right, so we're gonna get to our rapid fires. They're just real quick ones, top of your head. We do it every episode, so it's a lot of fun. And so we'll just hit them with you, and you fire away. First one: Mets or Yankees?
Mets.
Ooh, okay.
Quick too, I like it. Mm-hmm.
Knicks or Nets?
Knicks, and I flipped to Nets because my son worked for the Nets for a little while, and I sort of recently got into that. So, but as a kid, Willis Reed, Walt Frazier, all that stuff. But basketball was my least. It was baseball, football, neck and neck, and hockey. Islanders. Sorry, I gave you that one just in case you asked me. That's the Islanders. Unequivocally Islanders. 100%. Islanders, Jets, Mets. There we are.
All right, so we'll skip the next one. Peter Luger or Delmonico's?
Peter Luger.
Nice. Good call. What about Subway or taxi?
Subway.
Okay.
Subway.
Man of the people.
Smooth.
Yep, I am. It's quicker, it's cheaper, but it's a little different now, obviously. So I'm taking the time and the COVID out of it. Yeah, I like riding the subways in New York.
Perfect. JFK or LaGuardia?
You got to go JFK just because of the short runways, the delays, and the cancellations. But it's a lot easier getting out into the city. It depends on where I'm going. Everything has an asterisk, but I would say JFK for sure.
What about your favorite borough?
Manhattan, followed closely by Brooklyn.
Perfect.
Like it.
I can deal with that. All right, last one coming at you. Empire State Building or the Statue of Liberty?
Empire State Building.
Nice.
No, what about Broadway show or movie theater?
Wow, I'm going Broadway show right now because they're hurting so bad, and
That's fair.
And so that's why I went that direction.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ralph, for taking the time to spend with us and chatting it up a little bit. This was awesome. This was amazing. A real pleasure of mine. Like, I never thought this was going to happen. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. I can't wait to check it out. And my son and my daughter, they're going to be all into it. So we'll watch it together if we can. I look forward.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Guys, be well, be safe. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Say hi to everyone. Thanks.
I think I can say for both of us, that was absolutely amazing.
Really cool. Really cool.
I mean, that was, I don't know. There was something about that interview with him that was just kind of different. And like, I think I was more a little awestruck, which was pretty cool. So,
and he seemed to just really light up when he thought about us being in the next Cobra Kai season. That was really cool.
I'm pretty sure he said we were definitely in. I don't know if that's binding. I don't know where he is. I don't know if verbal contracts are binding over the internet or not, but I think it is.
We got an argument.
We got we got it recorded. So hey, it is what it is. So that leads me to think, as we wrap up this week's episode, who was your Mr. Miyagi for either coming into the NFL, in the NFL, maybe college? No, let's stick to the NFL. Coming into the NFL or during the NFL, like who was your sensei?
Man, I feel like I was fortunate enough to have multiple people kind of assume that role along the way, and you just glean some wisdom from people that are older than you and wiser than you and have more life experience than you. But my high school football coach was, during the whole recruiting process to get to college, through college, getting to the NFL, he did my pro day at USC. He coached that whole thing, orchestrated it, was talking to all the teams because his son, Rob Johnson, had already been in the NFL. So he kind of knew what it was like, and he knew what it looked like. He knew how many different directions I was going to get pulled and how many little things I needed to worry about and other things I could just kind of get off my plate because it was already full. And so Coach Bob Johnson was crucial for me and my success, and treated me, when I played for him, I was terrified of the guy and I didn't want to mess up. I didn't want to let him down. And he was tough, man. He was old school, in your face, call you out, embarrass you in front of the team. And so I didn't want that. I wanted to please him. And then as soon as I graduated, it's like his role completely changed, and he became like that uncle or grandfather figure that you're just infatuated with and you want to bounce ideas off of and you just want to check in with all the time. And so I'm just so grateful for Bob and his family, his two sons, his wife Debbie. His wife Debbie is the type of lady, this is a great story. We're going into our playoff game in high school. It's a whopping 45, 48 degrees, and little old California high school Sanchez is just going to freeze to death during the game. Okay. That was like ridiculously cold for us. So she took an old red Diablo's jacket with a insulated sleeve thing, sews two sleeves together, and makes me a hand warmer because we didn't have any because we didn't need one. And I probably didn't need that. But one, I thought it would look so cool. And two, I thought it was necessary for the frigid temperature. So Debbie Johnson, Bob Johnson, that's the kind of family they are. But that was one of my favorite stories about them. And Bob kept on joking with me about it. He's like, look at that sissy hand warmer. What are you doing? So, he was a tough, old school, callous guy, but he really helped me in my journey, and I'm appreciative for him. But I spent a lot of time talking about me. I want to know, who's your Mr. Miyagi?
First, I have all the questions. It was 48 degrees and you needed a hand warmer?
Dude, that's freezing here.
Oh, no, listen, I get it. I know cold, Mark. When you got to us and we had some cold games, I could tell the look in your eyes, like, listen, I'm cold. This is chilly. And that was when it was only like 60 degrees. That was like mid-November. And then it really got cold. All right. So my Mr. Miyagi, I think I have two. I think I have one on the older side who would be, I think would be more apt. But I also have a younger one. So my older one is Bill Callahan, our offensive line coach. Like he taught me so much about offensive line, so much about life in general. The smartest man I know by far, and I'm shocked that he's had such a long and great career in the NFL. But I feel like he could have solved the energy crisis or something. Like I think he could have done other big things. But he really taught me everything about the game, about how to play the position. And so he was definitely the Mr. Miyagi on the older side. But then on the younger side, and you talk about like the life experiences and those type things, was our good friend Alan Faneca. Him coming in, teaching, he had already had 10 years with Pittsburgh. So he knew he had that experience, and he taught me. Like he didn't keep it to himself. He kind of explained, and I mean, I did have to ask him questions. He wasn't just giving it out, but he taught me like how to take care of your body, about the game, how to play the game, and the different things of experience on the field. But then also life experience, like how to separate being a father that's playing football and a father that's with his family. And he had a great example of keeping two things separate. He kept football in the building and he kept family at home. Like he was a dad. He never took anything home. He did all his work here, all of his study. Everything was done here. So he ended up having late nights. But he would always make sure he got home to his daughter, so he could read her a book when she was going to bed, and he wasn't staring at plays or anything. So I think that was something special for me. Kind of taught me that because he was already gone by the time I had my first kid being in the NFL, and so I felt like I really appreciated having that balance that he taught me. So not only on the football field, but in life in general. So go Big Red, the Hall of Famer that he is now.
Hall of Famer, what a stud! I wasn't at the induction. I was not at the induction, but what a stud, man! Dude, he's so thin now.
That was a good dig, right?
Rude.
Rude. All right. On that happy note, I think we had a fantastic episode. I loved it. Ralph was amazing. Thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it. This has been a blast. I mean, I love it.
This was awesome. Thank you, Nick. For Nick Mangold, I'm Mark Sanchez. Don't forget to like, rate, follow, and listen to our show, The Exchange. Also, you can get it on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. So we'll see you soon on The Exchange.